Leen Raats lives in Belgium. She runs a copywriting business, writing mostly about nature, landscapes, and history. She self published books in Dutch and won writing contests in Belgium and the Netherlands. Her publications include Pleiades, 34 Orchard, Cranag, and Rothella Review, and I probably butchered everything but 34 Orchard in that one. Ever since the day, and it must have been somewhere in the early 90s, she first put a poem on a piece of paper. Her life has a clear purpose, making this world just a little more beautiful through writing. And you're going to see that when she starts to read. I'll put some information in the comment box for you. And Leen, whenever you're ready, go ahead and start.
Okay, thank you so much for having me here, and thanks for everyone who's watching. Okay, so our neighbor's dog has been quiet for the entire evening, and now she decided to bark, but I hope it doesn't interfere too much. Merel's obsession with birds began on April 12, 1992. On the chilly morning of that Sunday, she was playing in the hallway of the house where her father had lived since he divorced her mother. Every other week, she would spend a weekend there with her Game Boy, a remote control car, and a handful of My Little Ponies. When her father entered the hallway and carefully avoided her gaze, she knew what he was about to tell her. She cringed on the cold floor tiles. Her thin black hair fell in front of her face. She shielded her head from the bomb that was about to fall. She didn't look up when her father's voice, so much softer than usual, said, "Your mom died last night." At 3 o'clock, she was startled by her own voice. Did she really say that out loud? Her dad remained silent for a moment. How do you know? She removed her hands from her head and stroked the brown, gray, and blue rivers on the white floor tiles with her chubby little fingers. Marble, she would later discover. The rivers were nothing more than impurities in the limestone from which the marble was formed, under the influence of immense pressure. Sometimes destructive forces create the most precious things. Just a guess, she said. There was no point in telling him how she had suddenly woken up that night, peering into the darkness at a familiar shadow in front of the closet, her heart beating fast and irregularly. How the alarm clock beamed 3:01 in red letters. How she turned on the lamp on the nightstand, the dim light barely strong enough to dispel the shadows. How she felt an immense pressure on her chest. How a sound at the window caught her attention. A bird singing at this hour of the night? How she took a pair of socks from her green travel bag on the chair beside the bed. How the cold of the towels penetrated the thin fabric of her Minnie Mouse socks. How she opened the thick brown curtain just far enough to see the bird sitting on her windowsill, a female blackbird. How she stood there until the cold beckoned her back to bed. How she slipped back into the warmth of her blankets when she suddenly knew it, with the same certainty with which she knew she loved white chocolate mousse. How she told herself it was her imagination playing tricks on her. Her imagination that, according to her father, teachers, and aunt's secret, was far too vivid for her own good. But now, on this cold hallway floor, she knew her feelings had been right. The cancer won. Later that day, she sat on the lawn in the narrow city garden of what would become her new home. It was still too cold to sit on the ground, but it didn't bother her. Today, nothing bothered her. She had to get used to loneliness and discomfort. She had to face this cruel, empty world with her head held high. Weakness was no longer an option.